Starting. Good.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the October edition, the gritty edition of the Philly MacAdmins meeting. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge our member Mike and his fiancee Joyce who got engaged last night. Thank you. And with that, we'll just go right into what's new because we have a lot covered. We've been away for a while. iOS Mojave was released, as well as iOS 12, tvOS, and watchOS updates. Office 2019 is live. A bunch of stuff happening in Security Roundup. A bunch of stuff in items of interest, and we'll talk about some conferences and stuff. And first up is macOS Mojave. So that was released on September 24th. So among the new things we get is dark mode, which I'm sure everybody is enjoying immensely. New revised App Store, stacks, improved Finder and screenshots, and dynamic desktops. On security side, there's a strong password support in Safari, which is also in iOS 12. So that automatically fills out and makes strong password for you if you don't know what that is. And more. The link details will go through Apple's presentation on that. So also, of course, with every new OS, we get new bugs. And the first thing is you get a blank screen if on boot if a password policy is set. This seems to affect primarily joint accounts, like even LDAP or AD. I think it's probably because there's a password policy set and it's connecting to AD or a domain of some sort, and it's actually a local account. So, that's the brand new bug we get, because it can't be a new OS without new bugs. Mm-hmm. So, and security-wise, there isn't a whole lot that's been listed. Which either means that there'll be more stuff coming along the pike, or in like a year or so, like they did with High Sierra today, they'll backport a lot of extra CVEs that they announced because of disclosure reasons. So, and of course, there's the big feature that all of us are worried, concerned about, and that's, of course,
UAC?
No. PCC.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh my God. PPPC.
Privacy Preferences Policy Control, otherwise known as TCC, Transparency, Consent, and Control. Mm-hmm. So it's new OS, new security features, and one of these is obviously PPPC. And as you may or may not know, that's all about they protected some user locations of data, as well as different types of data, and app interactions, and app interactions with other apps, and app interactions with the system. And yes, and like the running joke, it's like Vista and UAC has come to the Mac. So, and one of the things is that apps will now prompt for access for the camera and the microphone, like they do on iOS. For us, it's always going to do that. So it will always prompt. There's no way to not make it prompt. But we can basically blacklist apps if we need to do that. But I don't think I'm certainly ready to do that. But that's one of the things we can do. For us, automation, system events, and after-app interaction, post events, and accessibility. These are the most common, and those can be whitelisted. And there's been, in like the last month, a rash of different tools that have come out to help create profiles for you to manage that. And also like lots of tools and testing. I mean, last time we met, back in August, they had just debuted all that management feature. So hopefully you've been testing since then and have at least have a working stable profiles to whitelist either your agents, your apps, your scripts, and other processes. So so users don't get bombarded like we saw there with all the different processes. So let's see. There's an MDM profile. That's the mechanism for whitelisting. Of course, requires user approved MDM. So again, with Mojave, MDM is now required for managing Macs. So if you don't have an MDM, Mojave is probably something you want to put off for at least until you get an MDM in place. Sorry. So also new is iOS 12, released the week before on 9/17. Link goes through the explicit details because there's lots of new features. I think Animoji was one of them or something like that, or new Animojis. I don't know. That's the only thing I can remember from like the whole list. But security-wise, it's more CVEs affecting different processes. There's an interesting note in the security release is that they give thanks to people on certain processes, but don't actually list the CVE or anything like that. So I'm wondering again in the months to follow, they'll append the article with more CVEs when disclosure agreements are finally completed. So, and since that release, we also had 12.01 got released. That was mainly a bug fix release that fixed, I think, 2 bugs, which I forget what they exactly are, but details are listed. And we get tvOS and iOS, tvOS 12, also released the same day as iOS. Bunch of new features, which I can't recall again either. But that's why I have the list detailed there. Security-wise, it covers a lot of the same as iOS, as you would imagine. watchOS was also released, and that also has a bunch of new features, mainly geared towards being active, which probably doesn't apply to a lot of us. And they also introduced a new series for watches, and there's details for those too. I think the big one, everybody, the big selling point of Series 4 is the walkie-talkie option. So everybody and their friends get the Series 4, so you can do the old Nextel thing. So security-wise, again, because they're all in the same code base, a lot of the same processes are affected by the same CDs, and so have to be covered. So we got new iPhones. So the iPhone XS and the iPhone XS Max as well. That's the XS and the XS Max are the ones left there.
10S.
I was expecting you to correct me.
The 10S.
So the 10S has the OLED Super Retina display. Super Retina. The 10S is a 5.8 inch screen, and the XS Max is the 6.5 inch. In case anybody's wondering.
Oh, you got one?
Ooh. What was it provided?
And there's other new things like they have the A12 processor, but all the new iPhones have the A12 processor. And I know the camera on the 10S Max is really high end on that part. Starts at $9.99 for 64 gig, $10.99 for 64 gig on the 10S Max. So, and they also introduced the lower cost XR10R model. Sorry, this has a new liquid Retina LCD display. And it's kind of in between because it's 6.1 inches, and cheaper is only $749. So it's a bargain. So the 10R actually pre-orders start tomorrow, and they're supposed to start shipping on the 26th. So if you're looking for a new phone, here's your new model. Moving on to Office 2019. So officially introduced on the 24th, same day as Mojave, coincidentally. And I know we talked about the support in the last meeting, but there is definitely the Office apps in themselves. There is no fundamental difference in the app. It's all the features that are for a particular version are controlled by the licensing and the licensing file. So, and it goes Office 365 customers get everything, all the new features, and every time there's a new feature that comes out, it always comes out for Office 365 first. Office 2019 will have more new features, but may not get all of them. And Office 2016 no longer gets anything. So, again, Office 2016 is now in maintenance mode. Well, for 2019, 1617 was released on the 24th. Just this past week was 1618 had released. New features. I mean, you can now at somebody and like you're doing that integration with Teams and all that. So it's getting more complex with that. And I see Office 26. They had 2-point releases that are just basically security and bug fixes. But the interesting note is that we now have an end of life date for Office 2016, and that's in 2020. So really only 2 more years of support for Office 2016, which is a bit of a long time, but
Short for Microsoft standards.
it's very short. On
One was XP.
And 2019 also has the minimum OS requirement of Sierra. So whereas Office 2016, it was Yosemite. So,
That was from us.
moving on. The one thing about Office 2019 is that if you do a Office 2019 version, I know it's happened a couple of times with a couple of different people. If you install like 1617 or 1618 and you only have the 2016 license, then all the apps start prompting you for licensing or to sign in at that point, because with starting with 1617 can only be used with either O365 or the 2019 volume licensing file. Doesn't recognize that at all, the 2016 at all, so you can't get the new versions if you have the 2016 license.
I believe it's called VL 3.0
Yes.
instead of 2.0.
So if you know what the licensing file lives in launch days.
VL 3.0 backwards compatible with
Nope.
No,
So be very, very careful when you perform.
they don't break your installation.
Yeah. So going to security roundup.
Bad
So first up, there's actually Thomas Reed did a presentation about the code signing flaw. I forget what conference. Was it DEFCON?
Fires something.
Yeah, but and basically the code finding saw is that unless the app developer writes in extra validation, no extra validation happens on the code signing. So once you get past that initial hurdle, a malicious app or payload could take over on that at that point. So that's the gist of that. I don't think there is, at this point, I don't think there is a fix for it yet. But now we're all aware, so it's a potential avenue. So, fun. This week saw all the major browsers announce the deprecation of TLS 1.0 and 1. And so we're talking Google Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and Edge. Microsoft is still committed to supporting Internet Explorer until infinity. So even though TLS 1 and 1.0 and 1.1 will probably go away, as long as Internet Explorer is around, there will probably be still sites using that, even though it'll all be sunsetted after 2020. But I think beginning next year, Chrome drops both of those, and then everybody else follows suit in 2020. Yes, the end of that is coming for most people. Other news, Google Plus was still around. and ended up being shut down after a security breach. The news of the cover-up of the security breach on Google Plus was announced. So, so Google decided just to shut the whole thing down. To be clear, they're shutting it down for just regular users. The commercial version of Google Plus, which was a thing that I never knew about, is still going to be running. So,
There's a Google Plus now.
And on the other hand, so Facebook announced that 50 million accounts were impacted by a security breach. So, which is, it's another day, another security breach. So this is not to be confused with that people sending that meme, that my account was hacked, don't accept new friend requests. That's not that.
Probably their hand over the
Yes,
button.
that's not that. It's not the friend request thing that was going around for that. Also, while we were away, the first documented case of someone doing a UEFI rootkit. So, yay, UEFI is reading it, I think it was it only affected certain older chips. So I think most modern hardware was not affected by these particulars. So if you keep around machines for a long time, you may be vulnerable. But if you refresh at normal pace, within 3 years, you should probably be free of any of that relatively soon. As I mentioned before, new OS, new bugs. So our friend Patrick Wardle discovered a flaw in the Mojave privacy controls, the TCC stuff that they gave us, and that allows you to bypass those protections. And at this point, I know he disclosed that the day of Mojave being released, or at least that week. So I don't know if it's being addressed in the betas or when it will be addressed. There you have it. There's already bypassed. I know he showed a video of that, and he was basically running an app behind it that is not published that app, or the method he used to do that, at least publicly. So hopefully Apple follows up with that, and I'm sure there's a lot of admins who see what that is and maybe make
And use it.
Yeah. So, and just like yesterday or the day before, libSSH, which is an open source tool for SSH, referencing SSH on it, major serious vulnerability. It's basically, you say, you pass, I'm connected now to the server, and the server goes, oh, you're connected now. And that's really simplified the vulnerability, but that's basically and like the next day also, someone did a scan of like the major vendors and commercial entities to see how many people had servers open to the internet that were vulnerable to this, and it was quite good. So that's bad. And then, of course, we come to Bloomberg's questionable super micro chip article, the bombshell article that everybody has been talking about. So, if you don't know, basically Bloomberg said that pretty much every from Apple to Amazon, anybody motherboards or any sort of like that, that sort of thing. The Chinese government was installing these super microchips in there to use for spying. And since that came out, there's a huge option. Apple and other companies were saying, no, this is wrong. It's complete. This is fake news, as the term goes. So, and a lot of people, a couple of sources have come out that saying, I know there's one guy that they quoted in there that say what I said, that was theoretical, not direct proof. And so there's been a lot of doubt. I think one of the article writers was talked to a source who then backtracked on some of that stuff. So essentially, a lot of the details are sketchy now. But I think the conceit that supply chain is vulnerable is still true. So even though this super microchip thing isn't actually a thing, it's still true that supply chains for everybody are vulnerable. Because humans are vulnerable. Moving on, a couple of things of items of interest. While we're away, Jamf Pro 10.71 was released. Also in that time, Monkey 3.41 was released. Both they support. So, in particular, the Jamf Pro is a TCC.
PPPC.
So the file and login but it uses the npm inventory command to determine what OS is there and then installs it, as opposed to needing a recon, which happens much later. So, and they installed the TCC profile that Jamf installs lists all of their agents and processes. So, so that means if you run a script through Jamf, and it triggers like an always a script to pop a dialog that shouldn't trigger a prompt to the user to approve it. Interesting to note, though, that if you run the Jamf command terminal, that will still Monkey 3.41 added dark mode support, I saw. So, yeah, which is important.
The Swift rewrite's coming. They're talking about the mailing list.
Ooh.
Oh, right.
Managed Software Center being rewritten in Swift.
Dark mode.
I don't. Greg's not doing it.
Greg is that is Greg?
No, I thought Greg didn't want to learn Swift.
No, he said they're already in development and they will look exactly the same. Because somebody else posted on the mailing list their mock-ups of where they take the new App Store, Mac App Store interface and make it Managed Software Center. And so they're talking back and forth today about how to integrate that code into his already written Swift app.
More to come on that. So, Jamf, it's not official release in Jamf, but something they posted on the GitHub. They came up with this PPPC tool, which was written by a Jamf. But I don't think it's officially supported by Jamf. And it's a Swift app that allows you to create, go through the different things to create the config file, mobile config file for profile to whitelist certain things. So, and along those things, there's also the TCC profile, which was created by Carl Ashley, and the self-service reset privacy consent, which works with the Jamf Pro. It basically allows you to go in and let users reset their TCC settings, because at some point, someone is going to accidentally either allow or disallow something. They're going to come back to you and say, I did this, I didn't want to do that, how do I fix it? And then you have to do that. This was put out by Haircut. I think his name is Matt Warren. So so those things that you might want to check out, you probably should check out. So TCC profile and PPPC util do the same, basically do the same thing, but just different ways. PPPC util is a primarily GUI app, and it written Swift. TCC profile is a Python script that will pop GUI dialogues in some cases.
I believe PPPC util is actually based on TCC profile.
Probably. I mean,
yeah, it's Git. So.
It's Git. Yeah, it's Git, and it's like there's really only so much you can do with what Apple is giving you. It's basically the same mechanism. You identify what needs to be what, and then create a mobile profile. I mean, And I think Eric Berglund's profile creator also does, which I didn't include this year. This also does quite a thing for TCC as well. So you have options, GUI options and command line options, whatever you prefer. So, Adobe at their Adobe Max conference have announced that device licensing is going away as well as Creative Cloud Packager. And there is no current replacement for any of that.
Woo!
So
Adobe!
I still think they haven't said device license. Say serial or something.
Well,
I feel like they still haven't.
Members of ACUP here
No enterprise
probably
license.
feeling the pinch bit.
Volume license, all gone.
yeah,
We're just gonna pretend it's 2018 for another
yeah,
year.
so Adobe is really wants
Did you ever get
to
people asking them to upgrade?
so that we can have that continuous. But but this presents a particular problem for it places things like labs. And as an EDU, you have lab stuff and stuff. And I know reading all the stuff that there are definitely places where they have contracts with Adobe that go into like 2019, 2020 for the serial numbers, and this change for CC 2019 is going to be problematic because there's no solution for labs or multi-user licensing.
Sounds about right.
So, although from what I understand, it's coming, it just wasn't ready at the same time as they wanted to announce it.
We have to go federated AD.
Rip out all the serialization.
Right.
A single sign-on federated AD.
So the link, it goes to MacMule.com's blog just about it because I know it's definitely him. So the erase install app, scripting OS X, Armin
Regal.
Yes, Armin Regal. His company, or people he worked with, created the erase install app, which is basically lets you set up and manage the erase install, so you can do a erase install on using the erase install binary that comes in the High Sierra and the Mojave installers. So you can kind of sort of automate all that now. Well, at least it'll help you with that. So check that out. That's something we're interested in. And but last time, and I know because Paul was definitely about this installer written by Greg will help you install macOS and some additional packages from recovery, and we know it works on T2 Macs. So as a way to sort of not real imaging, but sort of a way to bootstrap and bootstrap and install and configure a device that's not really imaging.
Long story short, go to DEP. If you can.
Right. So, conferences. So, PSU MacAdmin videos are up. And Mac System In, which we forgot to talk about last time, which happened 2 weeks ago.
Like the day after.
That's in Göteborg, Sweden.
Oh,
Yeah, if you could get to go to that one, that's a cool one.
Yes. I understand it's very nice of them.
They also do, it's all in English.
I think there's so Jonathan, I know Jonathan Levin spoke at Mac System.
Oh, okay.
And if you're into any sort of that reverse engineering and internals of the Mac OS stuff, he's one of those guys who definitely want to talk about
This is
and I know he spoke there, so,
objective.
as well as like the usual suspects. So objected by the sea. This is Patrick Warder's company in Hawaii, in his backyard.
Lucky him.
In Hawaii. So I know Mike Lynn Frogger is probably going to be speaking of that. So if you can get out to that way, if one of you happens to have a very generous employer, you can do that. That'll probably work the price of admission by itself. So.
Any idea?
And of course, what?
Any idea if there's going to be recordings for?
I don't know, not yet.
Yeah, I don't think they've said yet.
This is the first year for it, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, one can assume.
So I'm not, unless he's like paying for this out, I'll lose that.
You never know.
And of course, next week is Japanese music. And at this point, you know, if you haven't already, you can still, I think you still can go.
Yeah, you
You're
can.
now paying like $1,100 for registration.
EDU pricing's still low.
EDU is what is it still like?
I think it's still like 700.
Yeah.
Are you presenting together or separate?
No, separate.
So
Serge goes right after the keynote
You go right to
in the same room.
live, I'll be able to see you?
No, it will not. My presentation will be recorded, but not live streamed.
Right.
So only the
Same
keynotes
thing.
are being live streamed.
What are your subjects?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
My presentation is state management in the era of MDM. So very hard hitting, popular domain response.
Mhm.
John, what's yours?
Leveraging Dep Notify and Jamf Pro for device deployment. We're both in the same room at least.
Yes, but you're like Thursday morning.
I'm Thursday at 9 a.m.
Oh, you have lots of
So I have to make sure that I'm not hungover.
Yes.
That's recorded too.
He'll be post Jamf.
Oh God, yeah. Oh God.
Drink lots of water.
Most of the people there will be.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's good. I'll just make sure my slides spin.
Slowly go in and out of focus.
All right. So
Discussion.
so that's all we have for what's new. There's going to be some NDA stuff we're going to be discussing, so we're going to cut off the live stream at this point. So everybody tuning in all over the internet, thanks for coming out, and we'll see you next time.